Good evening. No, the sun's still up. So welcome to the Raleigh Astronomy Club Imaging Group for the meeting on June 2024. And here tonight we're going to talk about smart telescopes, which are pretty much all-in-one telescopes for imaging, where you have the telescope and you have the camera attached to it, and then whatever you output it to, it makes astrophotography extremely easy. Though some of us who are old fashions will tout its shortcomings, but that hasn't held anybody back anyone in the club back, because we do have members that do have smart telescopes, and tonight specifically we're going to talk about the Sea Star, which is done by ZWO, and there are two other companies that I want to talk about before we start the meeting that have smart telescopes. One smart telescope is called the Unistellar, which is by the company Unistellar, and then the other one is the Dwarf series, which is by the company called Dwarf Lab. And so the main thing we wanted to do with this topic tonight is just see if there's any people here who use these telescopes, and they wouldn't mind sharing their images and telling us what they like about their specific scopes. So, Steve, I guess I'm gonna put you on the spot. I take it you would like to go first. Okay, your mic is off. Sorry.
Okay, I'll see if I can share this. This is all from my Flickr albums. Let me get back to the beginning of it here. All right. All right. I've got a Sea Star and I have a Dwarf too. So I will show these things that I have to share first. Sorry. There it is. Okay. Sharing. Okay. Now let's see. Is that clear? Can you see that?
Loud and clear.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I'm just going to go in order of this is from the most recent to older ones here. This is it does a very nice job of solar. You can put this. I'll show pictures of all this of the Sea Star itself and that sort of thing. So you can do. This was just the other day. I decided to aim it toward the sun, and during the afternoon when it was cloudy, and take a video of it. And you can see the sunspots on the surface and clouds going through. It's kind of neat to watch, even when you can't really do anything serious with it. You can just look at it. And then, so that's it. Has a video mode. It has a time lapse mode. It has a deep sky mode. It has a solar mode. It has a lunar mode. It has different modes. So here's a deep sky mode. This is the star in the middle is Saturn in Cygnus. And this is about an hour and a half or so, maybe 100 minutes of exposure. Now the Sea Star, you can do 10, 20, or 30-second exposures, but it seems to work best with 10-second exposures. You just take a lot of them. So this is like 500 or 600 10-second exposures. And then you can process them either stacking them in the Sea Star itself, or you can take the individual subframes out and stack them in your favorite program. A lot of people who have Sea Stars like to use Serial because it's cheap or not expensive at all. Or I use PixInsight and various tools within PixInsight. And so I would stack this and then played with it, and you can see that you can get the star, you can get the velocity and that sort of thing. So that's a deep sky thing one could do. I did this maybe 5-6 days ago.
So I got a question about that. As far as, all right, so you say that it can stack it on its own, or you can take the images from it. So the individual images, these 10-second images that you're talking about, does it is it like recorded on some onboard?
Yes, it's recorded. It has 50 gigabytes of onboard storage.
Okay.
Then it saves all the subs. in folders with the appropriate names. And then you can either you control it from an iPad or an iPhone or an Android if you have one. And you can either, it will stack while you're shooting, it will stack the subs. And sometimes you can just take that off your phone or your iPad and process it, or you can connect up the C Star to your computer and get the subs and then stack it on the computer. So you have multiple options on how to do different things. And it's
How
not,
does the C how
go
does the
ahead.
C star do? How does the C star do with its actual stacking? I mean, of course, we're
Uh,
imagers, so we always want to take data ourselves. And
well, the nice thing about it is you can pretty much see what it's doing as it's stacking. And so you can see whether it's going to be anything interesting at all. Because if you've had it out there for an hour and you look at your iPhone or your iPad or whatever, and you don't see much, you're probably not going to get much, even if you stack the individual subs. But oftentimes you can see if you aim at something like the Orion Nebula or anything like that, you will see a great picture on the screen because it's very bright. And so if it's particularly bright, you will see a lot. Also, it has an internal light pollution filter, which is basically a narrowband filter. And if you aim it at a nebula or something like that, you will see the nebula. I could see what we're looking at here. I could see that redness appearing. Now, this is processed in PixieSight and enhanced and all of that. So you won't see something quite like this, but you will see the red and the nebulosity. And you'll see the little cluster at the bottom, like all that stuff appears. And so it's really nice to be able to see what's happening while this is going on. And if you leave it longer, I've left it for as long as 2.5 hours tracking, and it's alt as, so there's some issues, but it depends on the part of the sky you're in and that kind of thing. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's really a nice thing to do on your, the weird thing, of course, is the iPhone or the iPad or the Android pad or whatever costs more than the C Star do. So now it is possible to run the C Star from an Android app emulator on a Windows machine. Okay, and so so you can do that. You don't have to buy a pad or anything like that. But that's a recent development that didn't exist when it first was released.
so, Steve,
Yeah,
another question is, so you say that it can do, I guess, in deep sky mode, like you're saying with all the different
right,
options
right.
of recording. You can do 10, 20, and 30 seconds. So, what specifically draws you to doing 10-second exposures?
Because I found that if you try to do 20 or 30, if your C Star isn't perfectly level and it's very high, like high in the sky or something, or very near Polaris or something, you're going to get star tracking with 20 and 30 seconds that you won't get with 10 seconds. Now the C Star, when it sees star tracking, it throws away the frame and doesn't stack it. Okay, it may keep it, but doesn't stack it. And so you'll get a lot of this thing where it's going on for an hour, but you've only really got 15 minutes of stack because it's thrown away things because it looks like there's star trailing in there. And I found that doing 20 and 30 seconds just wasn't worth it. Now, as I'll show you in a little bit, you can put a C Star in an equatorial mount mode, and that will help with the tracking. But that's really experimental and not necessarily advised yet. But it does work, and I have done it. But it's a very tricky business, and it costs more to find all the bits and pieces you need to make it do that. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I've just found that doing a lot of 10-second exposures is the simplest thing to do.
Okay,
But
very good.
and then I've done things over a number of nights as well. So I've had 6,000 10-second exposures over a space of 4 nights. Okay, then there was a galaxy that has supernova in it. And so this is that little round thing in the center there, that's where the galaxy is. And I knew there was a supernova in it, so I just aimed a C Star at it and shot it for about an hour just to see if I could see anything. And this is what I could see. So it's this NGC 5876 galaxy that has a supernova in it, 2024 IgG. And you can see that there's this, it's right very near the center of the galaxy. So it's almost within it. But I saw people say, oh, you have to have a big telescope to see this. You don't have to have a big telescope to see this. You just have to try it and be patient. And so it's kind of fun to try to do this kind of thing with this little device. So
So what's the
that was
focal length of this thing?
50 millimeters.
Okay. 50.
Well, no, 250, excuse me. It's a
Okay,
50 millimeter,
250. Okay.
250. Yeah. It's a 50 millimeter objective lens. Okay.
Okay, very good.
And it's a triplet. Okay. This is not C-Star. Sorry. This is with the Lunt. I've been playing with doing that kind of thing recently. And that's with the Lunt as well. And the ASI 174 and PixInsight solar software for processing solar pictures, and it works great. It's fantastic. I really enjoy that. Okay, this was NGC 6604 and LDN 386 area of the sky. I just wanted to try to see if I could see these dark nebula type areas here. And so this, I just set it on there, and this is a mosaic now. It doesn't have a mosaic mode yet. That's the number one thing asked for by all the C-Star users is a mosaic mode, because the ASI Air has a nice mosaic mode, but it hasn't been ported over to the C-Star yet. Because the C-Star's field of view is fairly narrow, you can't get there all the Andromeda galaxy into one shot, for example. So you don't. So people are asking for mosaics, but it's possible to do a mosaic just by taking one piece and then moving it and taking another piece, making sure they overlap and putting them together in the computer. So that's an area that I just played around with one night. And then this is 104. And there is my colleague at the university, it's been studying dwarf galaxies, and there's this SU-CD1 is a dwarf galaxy that's associated with M104, the sombrero. And we were talking about a talk she gave, and I said, I'm going to see if I can take an image of that. She says, oh, you can't do that. You need a much fancier telescope than that, you know? And I said, oh, I'll give it a try. So I get it to try, and in fact, the little smudge there that's next to that star below it is that galaxy. And she was quite amazed. Actually, I sent a picture to her the next day, and she was quite amazed that one could get that from driveway in Durham with a C-Star, but that it's possible. And of course, M104 is fun to do anyway. So that's well, you know, I was just trying things to see what you can find. All right, this is all about the Lunt again, with a Barlow lens on it, and I was just looking at these little areas where you can see some motion, or time lapse over I guess an hour roughly, and so you can see the motion on the surface there. And that little spot that's moving around is a dust spot that I haven't figured out how to get rid of yet.
Well, at the beginning, you had a flare there too.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Right
Yep.
there.
Yep. So anyway, so I did, that was a lot of fun to do this kind of thing. This is all from my back porch. Here's another one. Time lapses with the fire capture. And you can see there, it's sort of going down along that one. Quite cool. It was fun to see that sort of thing. And then this was the video of the entire surface there. It doesn't show a whole lot of motion, but the motion that I just showed you is in these frames here. It's just you have to zoom in on it really a lot with the Barlow to see it. But that's the other thing I've been playing with. And then this is the process with the new software that's in PixInsight now. To take a video of the sun and process it and then sharpen it and all of that. It was a beautiful job. It's very impressive software. So, and then this is with the Dwarf 2 of the North American Nebula. The Dwarf 2 has a much wider field of view, which is, it's not as good a camera or a telescope at the moment, but it's wider field. I mean, with the Sea Star, I can only do the Mexico part of the North American Nebula. But with this, I can do the entire North American more or less, and the Pelican up in the upper right there. So this was done with the Dwarf 2. I forgot how many hours it was. 2 hours of exposure with the Dwarf 2. Again, from my front yard here in Durham, and processed in Princeton site. And it has a similar, it saves the stubs, and you can download them and process them. It also stacks them inside the Dwarf 2, but it's not as good as the Sea Star. The Dwarf 3 is going to be better. It's going to have an even wider field of view and a better camera, and that's coming out sometime this summer. I've got one on order, but I don't know when it's going to arrive. But it's a lot of fun to have both of these very inexpensive telescopes to play with. So that's a Dwarf 2 then. All right, this is also Dwarf 2 of the Lagoon Nebula. And this is a single, not a mosaic, but I put together of M8. And I guess this is, I don't know how many hours this is. 420 15-second exposures. You can do 15 or 20 or 30-second exposures with the Dwarf as well, but the default is 15. And so I can have both the Dwarf and the Sea Star out running, one on my iPad and one on my iPhone. And I did that night. I did M8 for both of them. So this is M8 with the Dwarf 2, and this is M8 with the Sea Star. And this is a mosaic of two put together now, and processed in Princeton site and Photoshop. And so I'm pleased with what one can get from these $500 machines. I think it's quite remarkable what you can do. Okay, there's the Sea Star in equatorial mode, and the attachment that's sticking out of it, the long attachment, is a light shield, and it also has a way of putting 2-inch filters in. So that's how I put my filters in. And I've been using an Optilon L-Quad filter in there. And it works great for light pollution. It also works great for nebulosity and things like that. And then the long tube there, it blocks out any extraneous light, because that is an issue with the Sea Stars and the Dwarf, is lights coming from neighbors or from the street lights or something, but this tube gets rid of that. And then there are 2 little red dot binders on there, and those are used for aligning, to doing the polar aligning, and for helping to find things in the sky initially. After you align everything up properly, the Sea Star will find targets for you, and then it will follow those targets. And so this is the problem with this, as you can see, it looks a little ungainly, like it's going to fall over because of the weight. So the tripod is a fairly heavy tripod, and I put extra weights in the tripod so the thing doesn't fall over. And also, the Sea Star is not really designed to work at this angle, so you're taking some chance of overdoing the gearing inside the Sea Star. But so far, people have done it. They haven't seemed to have a problem. So this is one way to be able to do, say, 5 hours of exposure on a single target and have it follow in equatorial mode, and not have to worry about the field rotation that you might get with the normal way. So I'm still, yeah.
Yeah. Looking at this configuration, has ZWO considered making a wedge specifically for it or something like that?
They haven't yet. I mean, I already had the wedge. I had the Star Adventurer wedge, which works fine on it, and there are other wedges that people use to do this. So my presumption is that Sea Star will fix their software so that it will support a full equatorial mode. But they haven't done that yet, just like they haven't done the mosaic mode or any of that. That's highly requested in the ZWO social media places that I go to. They're fully aware of what people want in this regard. So we'll see what they decide to do. I don't know.
That's
But
one of the nice things about ZWO is that they're probably the most receptive people I've ever heard. I've ever seen them since I've gotten into the hobby. You have these big names, well, they're not as big as they used to be, but like Orion, for example, or Astrotech or anything like that. It's like you hear people talking on the forums about things they like and don't like about it. And,
yeah,
but you don't really hear anything from the manufacturers addressing the situation so much. But ZWO seems to be like
oh
really on
yeah,
top of their stuff. I mean,
oh yeah. They're active on. There's a Facebook C-Star, the official C-Star Facebook place, and they do seem to respond there. They've contacted me at least once about some things, and so yeah, so they're watching what's going on and they're responding. They're not saying, "Oh well, we're going to have a new product out in 3 months" or something like that. They don't do that, but they are aware of what people want, uh, and they're aware of a lot of people who try to use their things and they just don't know what they're doing. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes. Just I can't fathom why people they complain and say, "I'm going to get rid of my C-Star because I can't make it work." You know, I said, "Do you read the instructions?" You know, they don't clearly. So it's really weird. But anyway, all right. So that's the equatorial version of my C-Star at this point. And I'm waiting for the weather to be better so I can test this out more. Okay. And this was a thing I did uh, with the C-Star to investigate the different ways of doing noise reduction in pixel sight and other things. And this is one of the M101 pictures I took, 9.5 hours worth of exposure, 10-second exposures. And then I ran the original through various noise canceling software as an experiment. And currently, the noise exterminator that you run in Pixie Sight seems to have the best results. But there are others you can use as well, some of which are free and some of which aren't. It was a fun project to do that. I really went a long time. I guess there's 4 nights of exposure on M101. So that was a lot of fun to do that. It was very interesting. All right, this is Comet 2023 A3, video I did of that. And the software inside the machine has all the comets in it, so you can find them very easily. And then I just took the time lapse of this and took pictures, one right after the other for 10 seconds, and so that I could get a video of the comet moving. And I stacked all this in PixInsight in the comet stacking modes, and then you combined it with the stars. Okay, and so that's just I like doing these time lapses. And then okay, this is another. These are more experiments with the sun, with the lunch and the software. And now this is a C-Star solar image of the sun, and they have a solar mode. And the only tricky part about the solar mode is that the C-Star needs to be absolutely level. It's level and it has a compass and it knows where it is, GPS and all that. And if you say go find the sun, if you set it up properly, it just goes and finds the sun and puts it in the field. And then you can take time lapses or you can take videos that you can stack in other software, or you can take individual pictures. It works beautifully. It's a lot of fun. This is the one that the C-Star comes with one of these sort of aluminum foil kind of solar filters, like the Vader filter stuff that you can use. But I use a neutral density filter instead, which allows a bit more detail in the sunspots and in the surface than the film does. And so I take a movie usually about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I process that either you can process it in the C star, and it will stack the solar movie in the C star, and it usually does a pretty good job. You don't have to take it out in some external program to stack it. It does a nice job with the sun for this. And it's very easy to set up. In 5 minutes, you're imaging the sun. And it's very nice. The problem with the C star is it's black, and it gets very hot very quickly in the sunlight right now. Okay, and this is again with the launch in a 5 power teleview Barlow. And then the moon is the same as the sun. It has a lunar mode. You set it up, you level it, you make sure the compass is accurate and all that. And you say, go to the moon, and it goes to the moon, and you can take video and time lapses. You can take very individual pictures, and it will stack also in the C star. And then I can usually process it in Photoshop afterwards to bring it out some more. And it does a really nice job with the moon. It's very, very well. Okay, this is M101 again with the C star, similar to the one that I had. This is the 9.5 hour version that I did of M101. And it took the stars out so you could just see a galaxy and that sort of thing. So I think it's remarkable. And this is not how it appears on the screen. It's a much smaller thing in the center of the screen that you can zoom in on and process it that way. And you can do galaxies with this where you would think you couldn't, but it's possible. All right, this is more solar stuff for launch using different stuff, and it's solar processing again with the new software that I've been using. Lots of that, all positive. Okay, and this was done with the C star again. This is the Eagle Nebula and the pillars of creation. This was 2.5 hours of exposure. And so that's and this does start to appear on the screen. You will see the pillars of creation in the screen as it starts to stack on the screen. Now this is stacked externally inside afterwards, because that's still going to be better than the internal stacking on the C star. But it really does a beautiful job of these nebulae. And this uses the light pollution filter that was in it. This is before I started using the other filter. And then this is, I can't see this. This is NGC 6894, which is a tiny little planetary nebula in the northern sky there. And that was a lot of fun to try to do. And you can see it, it gets it. It's a little $500 telescope, and you can get that kind of thing in there. Let's see, it's a little planetary.
Where is that?
Let's see, I forget which. Somewhere in the northern. It's not Cygnus. Shoot, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I have to look it up.
That's interesting because if it's that big in a C star and it's only 250, that might be worthwhile checking out with just
Oh yes, yeah, I've seen. I mean, if you look up NGC 6894, it's an interesting planetary nebula. And there are pictures of it on the web, of course, of that. And then this is another area, IC 1274. It's just a nebulosity area in this southern sky that I aimed at one night because it was there, and I said, "What is that?" And it was in the C stars catalog of things, and so I just aimed it at that and took that area. I don't have here how long it took that. But you can just wander around in the maps within the C star and say, "Oh, that looks like an interesting area," and you can start shooting that area and see what you get. And that's kind of cool, a lot of fun. Okay, and this is with the Dwarf 2. This is M20 with the Dwarf 2. So it's a much wider field of view than the C star, but it works. That's fun. And then this is LDN 1251. It's one version of it. I was trying to find these dark nebula in the sky, and so I just said, "Where is there a dark nebula?" And I went on the web and looked at some. I said, "Oh, I'll try that one because I think it's not behind the trees or anything." And so I tried that, and then I processed it one way, and then I processed it another way uh, to see if I could get anything out. And you could do it. If you look at the individual subs of this, you don't see anything but the stars. And you really do have to stack and play around with it in the software to bring anything out. But it's fun. And I'm just experimenting, trying to learn how to do all this. More solar stuff. That's a C-star solar again. And a lot of solar. Okay, and this is the C-star. This is with the Eastern Veil. I don't know, let's see how much, 46 minutes worth of the Eastern Veil. This one was, if I remember correctly, this one was stacked in the C-star. And I just dropped that, the C-star stack out and then processed it in Photoshop afterwards. So the stacking in the C-star works pretty nicely if it's something relatively bright and colorful. And so that was fun to do. And then here's lunar, of course. Now what I would typically do is a 2 or 3 minute exposure of the sun, or the moon I mean. And then I stack it in the C-star, and then I take it out and I process it in Photoshop or in Pixelsight or something to bring out the craters. And it does a really nice job of the moon. And then let's see, what is this? Oh, this blaze star that we've been hearing about. I've been taking pictures of that. This is that area. And the star in the upper is Epsilon Corona Borealis. And then, so I've been occasionally taking pictures of that to see if I can catch the nova that's supposed to be there. But it hasn't happened yet. So, but periodically I will take some pictures of the area just to see if anything has changed. Another moon picture. Lots of moon. Then you can zoom in on the moon. There's a 2x and a 4x in the lunar mode on the C-star, so you can zoom in a little more closely to see things if you want, and then stack them like that. Okay, that's the same thing. Okay, this is all the blaze star stuff. That's where the blaze star is in the sky. Okay, more C-star images of the sun. Okay, now I think this we did last time, so I don't need to talk about the Northern Lights anymore. So I have answered other questions. That's all I've got to show, Chris.
Okay, yeah, very good. Well, I guess one question, I mean, you went over all the stuff that ZWO is trying to listen to about doing for their what else they could do with their the C-star.
Right.
Yeah, what would you like to see?
The mosaic mode for sure. That would be very nice to have, because then you could just set up a session and I wouldn't have to worry about going after one session is finished and figuring out how to move it to do the next session. I could just set it up and say, I want it to do in the next 5 hours, I want it to do these bits, and then have it move and do that. It would be easier if I could do that. Let's see, what else do they need to do? I would like the equatorial mode to be more clear on how to do it. And they need to change some things, because when you're in equatorial mode, there's certain parts of the sky below the celestial horizon or something like that you can't really get to properly, because it's been disabled in the software. And I think they will probably fix that. I think they need to have a little bit more figuring out how to do the 20 and 30-second exposures properly, so you can get star trailing. That would be interesting to see how to do that. I think it would be interesting for them to say how to use external filters, like I've been trying to do, instead of just the internal ones. That kind of thing is probably what I would like anyway. But we'll see what they decide.
Oh, you've been pretty prolific with it, so.
Well, it's just so easy to set up.
Yeah.
And I have an extra battery that I run connect into it, because it works for about 3 hours if you're using it continuously, and so then the battery runs down. So I connected out to an external battery, and I just set it up in my driveway, and and it does everything Wi-Fi, so I can control everything from inside the house. I don't have to be out there. I go out there to set it up and get it all doing what it's doing and make sure it's talking to the iPad. And then I can come in the house and I can look at what it's doing. And if something doesn't look right, I can go fix it, or I can fix it from the house. If I want to go to a different target, I can do that without even having to go outside. So I've had it out from like 10 o'clock at night till 5 in the morning, and never had to go out there. And it's on a battery. So it's extremely easy to set up, and the plate solving works beautifully. It always finds what I'm trying to find. Yeah, it's quite remarkable. Now, my other systems that I have are also set up that way that I can control from inside the house. And I'm going to start using my bigger, more expensive, more elaborate systems now that it's the summer, and also because the nebulas are starting to come up. Now you can start seeing some nebulas at 2 a.m., which now you have to go at 4 a.m. or something to see anything. And so, but yeah.
Okay,
So
very good.
it's a really a fun thing, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to figure it out. So
Okay,
okay,
do any of
let's see.
our,
I'll stop sharing here.
okay. Do any of our other members have any smart telescope stuff to show? Any sea stars like that? No? Okay. We, well, Naveen, you're about to say something, or
Oh, quip. Apparently I have dumb telescopes, but because they're
yeah.
not smart.
Well, I think the choke point is what's like Steve had described as far as the greatest advantage of well, let me say it like that. The greatest advantage of the Sea Star and smart telescopes is just that. I mean, you just put it out there. I don't know, do a balance in the line, and away you go, I guess. But yeah, to me, that's the biggest drag of setting up your imaging rig outside, and unless you're like Johnny Morton, you have an observatory, but otherwise, yeah. So, but yeah, that's why I joked about that for a while, even before the smart telescopes came out, and just said that if there's anything anything I would want a telescope company to come up with to make this easier is a robot that'll put it together for you, so you don't have to do anything. So that's like I guess ZWO and Unistellar at Dwarf Lab, they came up with the next best thing. So for $500. So I don't know if you can get a robot for $500 to put your radar telescope set up together.
Well,
Okay.
Chris, one of the things I say, if you noticed on the bottom of the Sea Star, there's a leveler. And it turns out that a lot of people have purchased this little leveler thing that you put on the bottom of it. It helps you get the Sea Star very level. And it would
Talk about the
work. So,
bullseye level.
well, it's something like that, yes. And the Sea Star knows when it's not level. And so if you have this little device that has 3 little things that you adjust, and you can adjust it, and the Sea Star will tell you when it's level. And that's an extra little piece. It's like $30 or something that a lot of people buy when they get the Sea Star. It helps them enormously to do that. The other thing, of course, is I could pick this whole thing up, the tripod, the leveler, and the Sea Star in one hand and carry it. It's so lightweight that it's not going to cause anybody back problems or anything. It's extremely easy to carry around, and it packs up very nicely in a little case, and you can take it with you. So,
Okie dokie. I guess that's all we have as far as the topic goes. So we move on to the next part and see if there's anybody out there that have any images they would like to show that we're taking them, as Naveen said, with dumb telescopes. So the old-fashioned way, sophisticated yet complicated. So anybody want to go?
Yeah, I got some stuff. I mean,
Okay. All right, beware. I'm going to be out of action for about 2 minutes, but go ahead, take it away.
all right. So I've missed a couple meetings, so I've got Not a lot of backlog, but I'll start with the Aurora. So I was at home and managed to just catch the tail end of it through a patch of clouds, which I thought was pretty cool. I took a couple pictures after this, but nothing else really was this bright with the purple. Yes, with the Pixel 8, I think. And then the other one without a telescope at all, sorry for two of them, was I caught an air show at Cherry Point a couple days later, and this is the Blue Angels. I caught one of them kind of eclipsing the moon a little bit, which I just was tickled by. All right, so with my dumb telescope. So Cigar Galaxy, I keep coming back to this guy, of course, this HA RGB with the C8 reduced, ASI 2600 mm, 12 hours total. I don't remember the breakdown. Probably it was like 9 hours hydrogen alpha. Tone, same setup. Well, SHO, I used the HA for luminance. I've tried processing this a whole bunch of different ways. I was talking about before the meeting. Trying colorizing the narrowband channels. You convert them from grayscale to color, create a mask. I use ACDNR and PixInsight, and then play with curves to get 3 images, and then bring them together with either pixel math or color combination process. This is the one I like the most, though. Still, it seems kind of plain, but it's not bad.
Oh no, Naveen, you got really nice little pinpoint stars. Did you do anything to the stars, or does that
Oh,
came out?
yes, I did a lot to the stars.
Oh, okay, all right. I was wondering.
My field is not flat. This
Yes,
is Blur Exterminators feels like cheating.
yes, okay.
Um, yeah, my field is nowhere near flat. It's stunning what Blurx will do to them. And I also, when I stretch, I stretch the stars separate from the background, and I've
Right,
taken to
right.
just not stretching the stars as much.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think that's, I've heard that people are doing that now, to just use Star
yeah,
Exterminator, take the stars out of any image and then process everything separately.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then for the stretching, I use GHS. I'm blanking on what the acronym stands for, though. Generalized hyperbolic stretch. Um, and I do that for the stars as well. That really kind of helps make sure I don't have like weird halos going around them and they're not too bright, and they can control things really nicely.
So you did the. I just came back. Reading the title there. So was this just your run-of-the-mill classic C8 tube?
Yeah, I have the old orange tube
Okay.
C8. Uh,
So,
serial number is like puts it in 1985-ish.
oh wow.
Yeah. And with the reducer flattener, it's still not flat. I was saying to Steve, I used the Blur Exterminator. It works magic.
So one thing I hadn't imaged with a cast screen in quite a while. I don't know if I'll do it the one I have because it's so massive. It's the C11.
Huh.
But I'm wondering, one of the problems I had with mine, maybe it was just bad focusing or whatever, but I've also read it. It's a problem with big Cassegrains is that the stars tend to be very bloated. So I look at this and I was like, this could have fooled me. I don't think this really doesn't look like as much of a Schmidt Cassegrain image as I'm used to seeing. So I'm wondering, does when you get you see your regular raw frames or stars like much bigger? Do you have to like substantially shrink them to get it to look like this?
So I'll remove them from the background and stretch them separately. Um, And let's see, I do use Blur Exterminator, which does some star reduction, but I don't do anything beyond that. I think the default setting in that process is what I use. But it's just that if I didn't have Blur Exterminator, I'd stretch separately anyway, just to get the stars at the size that I want, instead of having to then, go behind it and reduce them.
Well, the
Get
guy
a
who does
better
Blur
effect.
Exterminator also has something called Star Shrink, which is a separate thing.
Yeah, that's
And I,
a Photoshop thing, I think.
yeah, and I
Okay.
have that. That's an interesting thing to use as well.
Does it work well? Because I don't have Photoshop.
Uh, I think it does. Yeah, it's not part of PixieSite yet. I'm not sure why, but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So anything with my C8, I use Blur Exterminator. Sorry. I say that only because it feels like cheating that it does to the stars. I can maybe if while next person shows pictures, I can pull up some raw images. Maybe this one.
Did
So
you use it
Chris, you
for the
can see.
cone Did you use it for the cone as well?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Beats beats doing deconvolution anyway,
Yes, of
like hands
course.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Yeah, I know. Okay.
All right. I don't know if I've shown this one. I might have, but whatever. Galactic Hiker. One of those I keep coming back to. I really enjoyed this one. Um, SHO with RGB stars, hydrogen alpha for the luminance. Um,
Where's the hiker?
right there, like in the middle between two peaks kind of thing.
Looks like that
Oh,
Bigfoot photo from back in the 60s
yeah.
or 70s. Can't remember when that was. No, when I look at this, well, I'm just, yeah, also good as far as imaging goes. You got it sideways, but I look at it and it looks as if it's like an elf with the nose, the obviously big thing pointing up, and it's got a black tongue, and you can see that it's got an elf-like ear there right behind it. And
Can you see my mouse where I'm pointing with the mouse?
yeah, yeah, right in
Yeah,
there.
okay,
That's
so
like the
there's the
ear.
ear,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
nose, the
nose.
mouth. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
and then
it
it's like wearing a sorcerer's apprentice type hat.
yep. If you look at Soul Nebula, I think we're playing around like the different orientations of the pictures are fascinating. Soul Nebula, like the traditional way of seeing it, kind of looks like a kind of to me at least like an embryo. If you rotate it though, it kind of looks like a bear chasing a butterfly. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I always thought it looked like a pig or something, but
Well, yeah. Some kind of four-legged animal
yeah,
doing
exactly.
something. Um, Sticking with this region, so this was my background. So Heart of the Heart, male 15,
That's right.
26 hours on this guy.
Uh,
I tend to spend too much time on targets.
yeah, why didn't you do that to yourself?
What were the individual subs?
These would have been for the narrowband 2 minutes and for the RGB 30 seconds each.
Oh, okay.
Needle, this one I did with HA as well. It was on a lark. I think the moon was up. I'm like, well, we'll just see what happens. And I really, really like it because you could see down the dust lane, like there's a whole lot of nebulosity just, peeking out. I think, oh yeah, all my images are with the C8 Pegasus Globular Cluster. Sombrero, which I'm gonna get more hydrogen. I'm getting hydrogen alpha data for this one as well, just to see if anything comes out like with needle. I have no idea when I'll be done with that.
That one right there, from I understand, there was a member here a long time ago who got some really good shots of this, and it was using, I think he was using a 10-inch. Uh, I don't know, maybe Johnny Horn remembers him, but he was in and out of the hobby a little bit. His name was Robert Fitzgerald, and he took an image of this and uh, he let Fulbright process it because he wasn't as good as processing it as Michael Fulbright. And but I'm looking at what you have here. One of the things that's difficult about sombreros because one, it's tiny, but it has a lot of delicate detail in it, and I can see that you have it there. But the problem of getting all that to really show up actually boils down to seeing right there because it's such a tiny object. You need really good skies to get that detail uh, that you could actually see, despite
Yeah.
it being edge on. And it's like I look back at was it NGC's 861 the needle? Yeah, yeah, it was more obvious there. But I think that one's a little bigger actually. But
Yeah, it's a
the
bit
edge
bigger.
outline that showed up nicely.
There's something with this one, like where you can see the background's also kind of overly bright, but not particularly loving it. But I'm hoping when I try it again with hydrogen alpha, figure out what I was doing wrong. But
Naveen, can you
yeah,
zoom? Can you zoom?
sure.
Zoom in on it because it's just south of it, down, going down, is where that SUCD1 yeah, you've got it right there, I think.
Do
And
I?
you see the triangle of stars there, and you
Down
see that
here?
no, up higher, the next one up.
Yeah.
You see that thing next to the triangle there, the little dimmer thing. It's
Oh,
right, yeah,
like,
right there. Yeah, that's
huh.
ultra compact galaxy right there. That I was
Okay.
pointing out that I had in the sea star, but it's much clearer in yours, of course. Okay, so
Okay.
that's interesting. That's interesting. I don't know if you can zoom any more in on that to see if it's actually a galaxy, not a star. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, it's
probably.
a little
Yeah,
smudgy.
it's
Kind of
there's some.
distorted.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wonder if the sharpening deconvolution with Blur Exterminator might have done something to it.
yeah, it could be. Yeah,
Yeah, to
or
kind
but
of tighten it up.
it is there. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
neat. All right, one more. Whirlpool. I
Yeah.
hadn't done this one for
on
a
H
while.
alpha.
Yeah, I did a lot. It's HALRGB, which I don't know why I keep doing it. It's almost as bad as processing the comet. Um, but I think I've done a pretty okay job of figuring out a way to do it because it's combining the brightness of the hydrogen alpha along with the luminance to build a luminance so you don't blow your hydrogen alpha away out of your color image. Um, yeah.
Zoom in on that. That looks nice. Yeah, we're getting pretty close to Space Telescope tax paid images.
Have
Yeah.
you guys seen Marshall's uh, M51? I don't know if you posted it in Discord. I think
Uh,
it's
no, haven't
all
seen it.
right. Should
Did it
go
turn
look
out really
for it.
well?
Yeah, I think it's better than this, which I thought this was pretty good, but yeah. All right, that's what I got.
Okay. Well, there's two other people here. We have Johnny Horn and Don Duhart. Do you guys have anything to show?
Yeah, I've got a couple images.
Okay, go for it.
All right. Okay, let's see. All right. Hmm. Okay. Did that come up?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, yeah, this is the large galaxy here is NGC 4216, and the other two galaxies, the one up here on the top is 4206, and the other one's 4222 down here. This one, there was a supernova in January discovered in this galaxy, and it's this little speck right there. If you can see my pointer,
That was still there, huh?
and you get a little better better view if zoom it in. And yeah, and that. And this was taken with my uh, Stella Mirror 90 millimeter, which is a 540 millimeters f6, and the 533 MC Pro camera. This is zoomed in a little bit, cropped at 0.896 degrees by 1.21 degrees. And it's 51 3-minute sub exposures.
There you go. You got some stuff up there at the top too, right? So
Yes.
what are those?
There's five bright galaxies, but you can there's probably 12, 15 other galaxies if you kind of zoom in and look around in the image. It makes sense because it's close to the Virgo cluster, and that a lot of galaxies.
I bet you could probably pick out dozens. Like I'm seeing a whole bunch of little ones.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
there's a lot of
rich.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool
Yeah.
pick.
There's some there that appear to be stars, but they're not.
Yes,
Don,
that's
when did you take this, Don?
yeah. June 7th.
Okay, all right. Because the picture I have of it, of that area with this, there was an asteroid in that area that I was able to pick up, and I was curious to see whether you might have. It's probably moved out of that field at 5G.
Yeah. I would
I took the picture on May 1st, and so there was an asteroid streak in there.
okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't see it there, but you've got some nice galaxies in there that I didn't get for sure.
Yeah, and I'd show the next picture. What do I need to do? Stop sharing and
If it's in the same folder, you should be able to, at least I think, you should be able to just like press the left or right arrow key.
I'm going to reduce the screen and see. No, let's see. Hmm, um,
So
yeah.
try your arrow keys and see if it'll just your left and right arrow keys on your keyboard.
All right. Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. Okay.
Oh, here it is. Okay, never mind. I got it. Did that come up?
No.
Okay,
Same.
okay, new share. Okay, here we go. This will do it. Okay. And share. How about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Um, yeah, this I took this was like a week or so later. This one was taken up at the gun club. The other one was from my backyard. And this is of the Sunflower Galaxy M63. And they were predicting the sky was supposed to be pretty good. It didn't look like it. There were a lot of clouds rolling in and out, um, but you can see this is 61 3-minute sub exposures, gain of 125. Same setup before. And this field is 0.864 by 1.21 degrees. And actually, for the focal length of 540, I mean, I guess the sky was pretty reasonably good. The tracking was okay because if you zoom in on it, you can see some decent detail in the galaxy. And I just zoomed in a little bit. I guess you can see that on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can. Yeah, there's pretty
Yeah.
good detail.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's pretty good from around here, and that, uh, but uh, but yeah, and that, and yeah, and that's it. That's what I have. Any questions? All
All right. Thanks, Don.
right.
Let's see. Johnny, you have something?
Yeah, I've got a few. I'm trying to figure out how to best do this here. Oh, that's not very good. Not very big, is it? Can you see that?
Yeah, kind of
Nope.
small, but looks
Yeah, it
nice.
is. Let me try something else here.
That's the arrow up on the upper next to the colored thing. Does that
Yeah,
have
I'm in a browsing program here that's not
Oh.
friendly to sharing, apparently. Um, yeah. Okay. I don't want to sit here and hold you all up, so I'll show them next time.
Okay.
Uh,
It looks
because I
fine.
can't, because I can't, I
Yeah,
can't.
it's okay, Johnny. Just I can see it.
That one looks good. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
that's fine.
can you
sunflower.
see? Are you seeing
Yeah,
M63?
that's fine.
Okay, okay. Are you seeing
That's
M64?
the black eye galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I've been doing some reconfiguring. I had in the observatory, I had a 12.5 inch Newtonian Cassegrain telescope for 40 years. Okay. And then 5 years ago, I got a Meade 14-inch F10 ACF Schmidt Cassegrain in 2019. And I wanted to, and a couple of years ago, I got a big Optron CEM 120 mount. So that's the mount that's in the telescope now. So I wanted to try the old 12.5 inch Newtonian on the new mount. So I refurbished it and used the ASI 26 MC camera and did some galaxies in the in the last month or so. And this is with the 12.5 inch f4 with a paracore, which gives me about f4.6, which is about 1400 and some millimeters. So it's pretty good image size, but it's also still pretty fast. And that's what I did both of these with. And also this M101. And these are just a couple of hours of 5 minute subs each night. So there's not a lot of data here. Um, this is M106, but they were all done with that 45-year-old Newtonian telescope.
What's it called?
It's a classical Cassegrain scope. That's what it is, and that is it has a parabolic primary mirror, so it has a Newtonian focus on it also, and it has a Cassegrain focus that's f16.
Okay.
So it's very long, 5,080 millimeters at the cast focus, which I've used for planetary and lunar stuff. But the primary focal length is f4, and it was the first scope I had in the observatory, and it was, like I said, it was there for 40 years. And but I haven't used it with these newer cameras, so I'm trying to fine tune it for that. I've got a little tip issue in the focuser on it that I've got to fix, because something that short, you really got to be mindful of tipping.
Yeah.
But it seems to do pretty well, and these are just 5 minute subs. And I also got a 0.75 times coma corrector for it, which makes it f3 at 900 millimeters at f3, and it also works pretty good. But the tipping is even more evident with that. So I got to get the base of the focuser more adjustable than it is, so I can fine tune that tipping, because my spacing is right, my collimation is right, but it's the tip of the focuser that's given me a fit. But anyhow, these are just the first tries.
Well, what I see, the interesting thing on these galaxies is to me they're almost three-dimensional. They're just really pop. The structure pop. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I did a lot of film images with the scope over the years, and it really did well, because I've tried about every coma corrector that's been marketed in the last 40 years, and some of those do a really good job. And plus you're at f4, so that opens up a lot of possibilities. You can use pretty heavy filtration with it, and it's still good and fast.
Well, I saw a lot of little galaxies in some of these as well. Not just.
So anyhow, I'm going to leave it in there for a little while until I can at least fine tune it enough to know what it can do with today's cameras and software and stuff like that. But I'm not about to part with it, because it had it so long. And I've got a couple of solar images here. This is a prominence from back in May. That's kind of neat. And this is this morning, of those three sunspot areas this morning. A little backstory with this. I got for several years, I've had a Daystar quark, but it's the combo quark. It's not the one with the built-in Barlow. It's just there's no built-in Barlow. The idea being that I could use it with the 14-inch Meade with an off-axis mask and a energy rejection filter of 115 millimeters in diameter, which I've only recently got. Is expensive. Is as expensive as the quark. So I just recently got it. So I did some stuff at f30, which is 115 millimeter aperture with the Schmidt 14-inch Schmidt at f30. Worked pretty good, but the filter inside the cell is not 115 millimeters. It's 127 millimeters clear aperture. So I've got a 127 millimeter f10 refractor that I've had for 40 years, and I've got a 127 millimeter Skywatcher Maxitov scope. So I can use that front energy rejection filter on both of those with the quark. And that's what I used for this one of the sun this morning, was the little 5-inch Mac, which, is pretty convenient to use. And I can have it just mounted riding piggyback on the big scope. So it's a convenient thing to have to check out the sun with. Anyhow, just trying to figure out how to get the most bang for the buck from one mount. I don't have a nice roll-off roof observatory that I can have 2 or 3 different mounts in. I've got the dome, and it has one mount in the middle. So I'm trying to maximize what I can get out of it. So
Your observatory.
Yeah. So it's it is fun to drag out the old scope, though, that hasn't been used in 5 or 6 years, and hook our new cameras to it and see what it can do. So no substitute for having a really good telescope, is it? One that's 40 or 50 years old is just as good as one made today if you have today's technology on it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay. Very good. Well, I guess that's a wrap. That's probably was a nice solid meeting right there as far as time goes. So anyway, so next meeting, that's July, and in July, let me make sure I'm getting this right. Let's see. Okay, yeah, July. So things got really upended this year as far as trying to do the quarterly challenge. So originally in April, it's just really yeah, it was just an afterthought as far as planning for it. In April, that was supposed to be our presentation on our quarterly challenge that we put forward in January, which was taking images of the constellation Auriga. And so, but we were supposed to have that in April, but the eclipse came along. Then I wanted to do it last month, May. Well, we got an explosion of aurora come through, so we couldn't do it then. And so I was just thinking, okay, well, I guess we'll just put this off until July. And I was like, now I got to come up with something for this month. And yeah, I just figured it out. Yeah, just out of the top of my head Monday. But anyway, okay. Yeah, I guess we'll end it there, and we'll see you guys. Let's see, what's the next one? Go down here. Second Friday of July will be the 12th, which means that our next meeting will be July 18th. So I guess we'll see everybody until then. So thanks for coming, and we'll see you till July 18th next month.